Okay, good afternoon. So what I want to do for this session, I just want to go through the quiz problems that we had before yesterday, and then I will let you work on your own after this is finished. Okay. So let me make sure that everything works fine. Yes. Okay, so here, the first question, John converts 12 degrees to radians, of course, correctly, if his answer in its simplest possible form is m over n times pi, then m plus n is equal to what? And this question is E-level question. I don't know what should I do more. I just write it in italic and red. So it means that please pay attention. Otherwise, I cannot shout in the exam that I want it in the simplest possible form. Okay, and because what I'm saying is that because in the exam, you have already national exam, so you know that the final answer matters. If you don't simplify that, even though your answer, your solution seems to be correct, yes? Okay, so what is the problem here? I want to solve this one. How should I solve that? So in the lesson, during the lesson, you learn that 1 degrees is what? Pi over 180 radians. And this is, I don't know if this is in the formula sheet or not, but you don't need to memorize that because you need to know, this is something essential, that you need to know in one full circle how many radians are there. If you don't know that, it means that you don't know that part. So in one full circle, which is 360 degrees, how many radians are there? 2 pi. This was essential because this is not something that you can remember because this is the definition of the radian. If you have forgotten the definition of the radian, no one can help you, okay? But if you remember that that is the definition of the radian somehow, then you know that 2 pi radians is equivalent to this. So then you divide by 2, or even you can start from here, it doesn't matter, but working with this one is simpler. So pi radian is 180 degrees. So if I divide by 180, this becomes 1 degree, this becomes pi over 180 radians. So this deriving this formula is not that simple, is that not hard. So 12 degrees means what? Means 12 times 1 degree. And 1 degree is this, so it becomes 12 multiplied by that number. Many of you got this one, but I don't know, even if I shouted during the exam, still you wrote 192. Okay? Because, yes, so you need to compare this with m over n pi. So everyone realized that m is 12, n is 180, and then m plus n becomes 192. But this is not correct because this one is not the simplest possible form that you can write this. You need to simplify that. So if you simplify that by 12, this becomes 1, and then by 12, this becomes 15. You might complain that the calculator, no, by the way, the calculator was also there, yes. But that was not a good thing that I did because everyone started using calculator unnecessarily, yes. So I just put the calculator because some of you might complain. If the calculator was not available, everyone should see that this is divisible by 2 and that's by 2. So it becomes 6 over 90 and then divide by 2 again, divide by 2 again. Finally, you should be able to get this one. So if you compare this number with that number, you can immediately read that m is what? 1, because nothing is written here. It means m is 1, n is 15. So m plus n is 16. So that's the correct answer. Yes, so this is the, so I expect you to write 16 here in this. And this is E-level question. Any questions here? Understandable? Yeah. By the way, in national exam, you don't have italics in red. Might be italic, but not red. So if you don't care about the red, probably you will not care about the italic as well, okay? But so train your eyes to, yeah. Because this is like my, when you write something, this is the way that you can change your tone, yes? By changing to italic and red and something like that. Anyway, so let us go to the next question. I don't know, if you have watched the video, of course, I know this is the problem being a teacher. So I emphasize every time that if you see this question like this, if theta is in the second quadrant and sine theta is this, then what is tangent theta? Okay, So if you want to solve this problem, you have, so might be, I made a little bit of mistake here. Yeah, I should have mentioned exact value, okay. Anyway, that is my fault. Anyway, but I want you to solve it the way that I told you. In principle, I should have expressed, find the exact value, okay. Anyway, how we should solve that problem? So many of you answered it correctly, but answered positively. So you immediately should realize that tangent theta in the second quadrant cannot be positive. So it should be negative. At least you need to understand that part. And this is why I'm saying that calculator is not that good in answering those minus signs. Might be all of you use the calculator and find the positive answer somehow. Okay? Because there are some conventions going on for these tangent inverse functions. Anyway, let me solve this problem. So do you remember how should we solve this problem? So problem number 2, sine theta is given to be 3/5, and theta is in the second quadrant. Theta is in the second quadrant. You are supposed to find tangent of theta, even though I forgot to write exact value, what I meant exact value anyway. So how should I calculate this? So you know that there is a formula in trigonometry. It should be very famous for you now. Because if I want to find tangent, I need to know sine, which I know. I need to know cosine, and then divide them. Sine is given to me directly, so it motivates me to find cosine. And it shouldn't be hard for you to write this formula. This is the most famous formula in trigonometry. And then instead of sine theta, you put this number and you square it. It becomes 9. Square this one, it becomes 25. And cosine theta is the only missing part. So how should you do that? You move this to the other side. So cosine theta squared becomes equal to 1 minus 9/25. And I really don't think it needs calculator. If it is 25/25, so it becomes 16/25. But I told you that the solution matters. So I will correct your solutions as well. So cosine theta is plus or minus square root of that number. And the square root of 16 is 4, square root of 25 is 5. So you have to write this. If this is a descriptive exam that you have to write your solutions, you have to write this, and you should say that cosine theta is negative in the second quadrant. So this is, don't hesitate to write a little bit, okay? It is in the second quadrant. So what is the acceptable value? The acceptable value is the negative one. Okay? And then of course you want to calculate tangent of theta, which is sine theta over cosine theta. Sine theta was given to you directly, and then cosine theta is minus 4/5. And then it is simple that this one and that one is given. So you see that automatically you get that minus sign. Okay? So it is 3/4. Okay? And then I have written, I don't know, you don't care about colors or things, yes? So it doesn't matter which color I use. Yes, you don't like colors. So you see here, I have a written answer in decimals. So I want you to respect that. Some of you have written minus 3/4. It's not a decimal, yes, is it? I don't think that is hard to calculate mentally, but you also have the calculator available. So what is that? Minus 0.75. So that's the correct answer that you have to provide there. Yes? Okay, so let us, any questions here? So let us go to the next question. So consider the following expression, this expression that you see here. After expanding and simplifying, this expression becomes equal to. So you need to write a simplified version of that expression here. Okay, so let us do this one here. So number 3, the expression is sine of x of 30 degrees plus x minus sine of x minus 30 degrees. So I don't think this is a hard problem, because this topic was about addition and subtraction formula, and these are very standard, and you have also something similar in your book. Okay? So many of you actually made mistakes. Okay? So I don't understand why. How much I have emphasized about the negative sign behind the pair of brackets, you don't care about that. Okay? So if you want to write, you put the formula sheet in front of you. You have addition formula for sign in the formula sheet. You have subtraction formula for sign in the formula sheet. So what you do, yeah, it doesn't hurt if you do it patiently, because this is an exam, yes? So you open this up, it becomes sine of the first one. I have it in my memory, but you can use it formula sheet. Cosine of the second one plus sine of the second one, cosine of the first one. Okay? And I do the same thing for this one. But many of you miss this minus sign, okay? If you really miss that, it doesn't hurt if you, because if you want to do something mentally, it is better to be able to do it accurately. Okay, so I put a minus sign, I open a pair of brackets, I write the formula, sine of the first one, cosine of the second one, minus sine of the second one, cosine of the first one. Okay, so this is the first step. The second step, I remove the pair of brackets. For this one, I don't need to be careful at all because there's nothing behind that, so I just open it up. But some of you that got the wrong answer is because when you multiply the minus sign in, you only took care of the minus sign here, but this minus sign not only goes here, but also goes there. So the first one becomes negative, the second one becomes positive. Okay? And then what happens? Which one cancel out? This one and that one are identical, but one of them minus one of them is positive, so they are gone. And this one and the last one are exactly the same. So what is the answer? I don't know, many of you left it like this. Okay, how many times I tell you that 30 degrees is a famous angle? Yes? You also left it like this? Even I told you. You didn't care. Isn't that okay? This ballback is crazy. What it's talking about? Okay. But the problem, the correct impression is that you are crazy. Yes, I'm just telling you. Anyway, so sine 30 degrees. 30 degrees is a famous angle. You go to the back of the answer sheet and then read sine 30. What is that? 1/2. And then you put it there, so it becomes 2 times 1/2 cosine x. And then what happens? That becomes cosine x. So that is what you need to provide there in that box. Also, please pay attention. So, I don't know, I will also write some comments for you when I have started correcting your papers, but if you are understanding what is going on in these 3 questions, it means that you don't have some very great risk to fail the course. But if you are very far away from understanding these questions, I'm really warning you, you have to come up and start working hardly. Okay, any questions here? Now let us go to the level C questions. These questions are very similar in nature to the national exam questions. Of course, I will not expose those questions directly unless I want to end up in jail, but these are very similar in spirit to national exam questions. So the first thing we want to do is to show this. This is the topic of trigonometric identities. So we want to write this. Show that tangent of x is equal to sine 2x over 1 plus cosine 2x. And of course, to be clear, I have written assume that tangent is defined and the denominator of 1 plus cosine 2x is not 0 to be on the safe side. And I have written answer this question only on the answer sheet because you have to write it down. Okay, but hopefully by seeing this 2x, it will tell you what is this topic about. It's not only identities, but it is somehow related to this 2x. What was the name for it? Double angle formulas. And then, of course, you need to go and find double angle formulas which is suitable for solving this problem in the answer sheet, in the formula sheet. So let me just solve that one for you. So the question is that we want to prove that tangent of x is equal to sine 2x 1 plus cosine 2x. Okay, if you remember, I told you that whenever you want to prove an identity, it is always better to start from that side which is more complicated, in this case on the right-hand side. So the right-hand side, so this is something I told you, if you don't recognize which formulas are useful, it is hopeless to look at just the formulas. But looking at 2x, you realize this is double angle formula, and for sine 2x, there is one single formula in the formula sheet. What is that? It's 2 sine x cosine x. So this is, I have done nothing. I have just used the formula in the formula sheet and wrote it down. But I don't remember, I don't have the access to the formula sheet. Do we have, yes. Do we have 3 formulas for cosine 2x in the formula sheet? Okay, so if there are 3, nothing is left, okay? So you need to choose the good one. So let me write the formulas here. So cosine 2x, this one of the formulas is this one. Okay, I thought that this is the only one given. So even this is simpler now because there are 2 more formulas. One of them is 2 cosine squared x minus 1. The other one is 1 minus 2 sine x squared. I don't think it is hard to understand which one is more suitable here. Which one you choose? Yes, which one you choose? Isn't the second one better? Because the second one has a minus sign in it. So if you replace this one with that one, at least this minus sign that comes from the formula and this one which is already there are cancelled. So I have a little bit simpler thing. So it was not hard, to be honest. So 1 plus, and instead of cosine 2x, you write this. And then what happens? I cannot do anything with the numerator. So I have to copy and paste it for the time being. But in the denominator, what can I do? I can take off this one and that one. And if you want, you don't need to do that, but let me describe. When I say cosine x to power 2, what do I mean? I mean cosine x times cosine x. You don't have to write it like this. But then I can simplify things, yes? So these 2 and that 2 are gone. There are 2 cosine x. I wrote it like that. One of them and one of them is gone. What is left for me? Sine x is left in the numerator, cosine x is left in the denominator, but what does it mean? It is just tangent of x, and that is exactly equal to the right-hand side.
Is it also correct if I do this but in reverse?
Yes, of course, but you have started from the hard side.
Yeah.
Okay, the people start with tidy things and make it more complex, so they shouldn't, I don't know, how is the situation of your room, yes? Because it shows that you have a tendency to mess things up, yes? So you start from the simple one and mess it up. Yeah, that's okay, if you like it. Yeah, no worries. Okay, so now that was a simple question. Was it hard, by the way? It was not hard. Okay, so let us go to the next one. The next one, it was very similar to the national exam, but of course in the national exam it was not a multiple choice question. So I changed a little bit things to understand that. There is also, unfortunately, there is one, everything is here, yes, sorry. Consider the following trigonometric equation. The sum of the roots of this equation in the interval 0 less than x less than 3 pi over 2 is equal to what? So what is the meaning of the sum of the roots? It means that you have to find the roots which are in this interval, and then whatever they are, add them up, it becomes a number, and then you have to choose that number on these options. Is that understandable? The sum of the roots. So anyway, the main task here is to find the roots. And this is very standard problem. If you have missed this one, well, unfortunately, I told you, for equations, you do not have formulas in the formula sheet. So either you have to memorize them or you derive them from scratch every time. Okay, but I will use my memory here, okay? So cosine 2x minus pi over 6 is equal to what? 1/2. So do you remember what was the formula which is useful here? Cosine of a box is equal to k. So what is the box? And then this is indicating that you have to work in radians. Okay? So I told you that if I wanted to solve it in degrees, I will mention the degree sign. So what is the answer? It is plus or minus cosine inverse of k plus 2n pi. N is an integer. So this is something that either you have to remember or you have to construct it using your understanding about unit circles. And then I can solve the problem. Yeah, so what happens, this is playing the role of my box, so it is 2x minus pi over 6 is equal to plus or minus cosine inverse of 1/2 plus 2n pi. Of course, n belongs to z. Okay, so what should I do now? Cosine 1/2 should be a familiar number to you. Okay, so you go to the table at the back of the formula sheet, go to the line for cosine. 1/2 appears in the column of 60 degrees. Okay, but this is radian, and I saw in the formula sheet later that 60 radians is also written in radians there, 60 degrees. It was written pi over 3. So even you don't need to convert. So the answer is 2x minus pi over 6. So the answer is plus or minus pi over 3 plus 2n pi. Then you have two problems to solve. One with a positive sign and one with a negative sign. If you want, you can move it right away to the other side. Let us just do that. It becomes pi over 6, once positive, once negative, pi over 3 plus 2n pi. Yes? And I prefer to decompose the problem. And let me divide by 2 as well, so it becomes pi over 12. This is subjective. This is up to you how you want to do it. The order doesn't matter that much. But I have to be careful. I'm dividing everything by 2. But then I have to split it at some point. So either the positive sign is acceptable, both of them are acceptable, sorry, n pi. So what is the common denominator here? 12. 12 to 12 one time, so it is 1 pi. 12 to this 2 times, so it is 2 pi. 2 pi plus pi is 3 pi plus n pi. But don't leave it like this. So it is pi over 4 plus n pi. So that is correct. I mean, if you got this correct, it means at least this is very good because you are on track. You might misunderstood what is the question or what is it, but if you're really doing these things, that is good, promising, because it shows that you really know what you're doing. And then the second one is what? Pi over 12 minus pi over 6 plus n pi. Okay, so what happens here? If I take the common denominator as before, 12, so 1 times, 2 times, so it becomes 1 minus 2 is minus pi. And then plus n pi. So these are my general solutions. But I am not interested in all of them. The problem is asking me to find all of them which are on this interval. 3 pi over 2 is 270 degrees. Okay, so let us look at this one. How many solutions this one will give you? Is there any point? So you know that n is an integer. In principle, n can be negative. But in this case, if I put negative values for n, I will get negative values for my angle, which are not acceptable. So what is the minimum value I can put for n? 0. If I put 0, it will generate which angle for me? Yes, this is for n equals to 0. Is there any point to go one step more? Yes. Because if I put 1, it becomes pi plus pi over 4. What is pi plus pi over 4? This is 180, that's 45, so it's 225. So I'm still in the interval. So that's also acceptable. So if I put 1, it becomes pi over 4 plus 4 pi. And then if you take the common denominator, yes, so it becomes 5 pi over 4. But do you think I can go beyond? No, because if I put 2, it becomes 2 pi. It's already more than that, let alone I add pi 4 to it. So this is one solution. This is another solution. Okay? And then what about this one? Do you think there is also a solution here? There is again no points. If I give negative values, I will get negative values, which is not acceptable. So 0 is also not acceptable here. Because if I put 0, I get minus pi over 12, which is not in this interval. So what about 1? If I put 1, it becomes pi minus pi over 12 plus pi. Is it acceptable? Definitely acceptable, because pi is already 180. If you subtract something, it becomes smaller, so it is in the range. So if I calculate that, by the way, how many of you can calculate these things? Hopefully you can take the common denominator. If not, please practice. So it is 12. What is the answer? 11 pi, yes. Do you think I will have another answer? Yes or no? No, because if I put 2, it becomes 2 pi, a little bit less. This little bit is 15 degrees. So I will be beyond that interval. So, but the sum of the roots is what? Is these 3 numbers added. Yes? And then what we do, we take the common denominator, which is 12. 12 to this 3 times, so it is 3 pi. Plus 12 to 4 3 times, this is 15 pi. And 12 to 12 1 time, so it is 11 pi. So what the answer is? 26 pi, 29 pi over 12. And that's the answer. Yes? So if you check it out, this is the answer that was provided in the options. Okay? Is that understandable? Okay. So it is very important to take lessons. If you have mistakes somewhere, you need to teach it yourself, because my role as a teacher is just draw your attention to your mistakes. Okay, so let us go to the next question. You can see the question until I'm writing it down here, because these are A-level questions. So the question is, we want to simplify this as much as possible. So this is cosine 17 degrees, cosine 13 degrees, and then minus sine 13 degrees, and then you have cosine 73 degrees. Okay, so the first thing that you do, so this is the problem that you have. This is just a number, there's nothing I can do about it. But you put the formulas of the formula sheet in front of your eyes, and then you immediately see some similarities and some discrepancies, yes, differences. Okay, if you think in that way. So I don't know, for example, if you see the formula of sine u minus v, what happens? Because this is a little bit confusing, I agree, because here you have a pair of cosines. Here you have a mixture of sine and cosine. And the bad point is that the formula for sine is a mixture, sine u cosine v, minus sine v cosine u. And the formula for cosine is pairwise, yes? I mean, let me write one of them, for example. Cosine u cosine v plus sine u sine v. Something like that. You have 2 more in the formula sheet. Of course, this is a A-level question. You have to be a little bit creative as well. So, but the point is that the pair of angles that appear here and there are the same pair. Okay, but you see that this is a little bit, this is something you have to be wise enough to discover. Here the pair of angles that I have is 17 and 13. Here 13 repeats itself, but 17 is replaced by 73. So is there something I can do? Because this is a A-level question, you have to be creative enough to understand that, yes?
Well, there's 2 ways you could go about it. Either change cosine of 17 degrees to sine of 73 degrees, or cosine of 73
to the other one.
To sine.
Yes, so let us choose one of them. So you are using, the reason that I'm explaining this is that if the problem is hard, how try to discover patterns. So it was not that hard because you were able to discover that. So what she is saying is that we can replace this, because I see that, first of all, I decide to use this formula, okay? This is my strategy to stick to this one. I'm not saying this is definitely working, but I don't do things randomly. If I stick to this one, I would say that, okay, this is comparable to that. So V should be 13 and U should be 73. But then what happens here, this is V again, but this is not U. So then you realize, okay, what is the relation between 70 degrees and 73 degrees? What's the relation? They are complementary. So cosine of one of them is equal to the sine of the other one. So the first thing that you need to write on your paper, so you say that I use complementary rules, and then I would replace it with sine of 73 degrees. Because 73 degrees, 70 degrees are complementary, so the cosine of one of them is equal to the sine of the other one, and then I copy and paste the rest of it. That's it. And now, do you think that this is comparable with this one exactly? Yes. So what is playing the role of u? 73 degrees. What is playing the role of v? 13 degrees. So this is just copy and paste 2 square root of 3. Sine of what should I write here? U minus v. This is the right hand side of that formula. So what happens? It becomes 73 degrees minus 13 degrees. Okay, but what happens? This becomes 60 degrees. Yes? But 60 degrees should also look familiar to your eyes. You go to the table, a sine of 60 degrees is how much? 2 square root of 3 is this number, but if you look at the table, this number is a square root of 3 over 2, and this becomes extremely simple because 2 and 2 are gone. Square root of 3 times square root of 3 is just simply 3. So the answer to this problem, so that you have to provide here, is just simply number 3. Any questions? Okay, finally let us go to the last one. Something similar here. So consider the following expression. And then this expression in its simplest form is equal to what? What did you get?
0.
Yeah, 0 is correct. Okay, and the only thing that you need to have is to put the formula sheet in front of you and try to look up and down to so that you can see the pattern. Okay, so how many terms are involved? 4. But each one of these formulas have 2. So it means that it should be a pair of 2, another pair of 2. And this is also helpful to look at this one. You see, I have 2x and 3x here. I have 2x and 3x here. So it indicates that maybe this is a good idea to take this one with that one. And then this is 7x, this is 2x. This is also 7x, this is 2x. But this is also indicating might be it's a good idea to take this one with that one. But the only problem is that this one and that one, both of them are negative. So what should I do with it? Yes, so let me write it down here on the board. So the problem is cosine 2x multiplied by cosine 3x. And then I have minus cosine 7x multiplied by cosine 2x. And then again minus sine 2x sine 3x. And then finally minus sine 7x sine 2x. So I want to simplify that. So as I told you, I will take this one because it has 2x, 3x. With this one, it also has 2x, 3x. So I write them in one pair of brackets. But can you tell me what I'm supposed to do? It is clear that I will take this one with that one. But before doing that, I do some minor thing. What is that? Because in none of the formulas you have 2 minus signs. You have only 1 minus sign. You have to pull out the minus sign. So you pull the minus sign out. Yes? This becomes positive. And this one also becomes positive. What was the motivation of doing that? If you look close enough, you see that in none of these formulas in the formula sheet you have 2 minus signs. You either have 1 single minus sign or 2 positive signs. So this is not possible to get rid of the minus sign unless I take a minus sign, and then it becomes positive. And then hopefully you can recognize the pattern here by looking at the formula in the formula sheet. So what is the answer? I don't know. This is not something that I can teach you. You need to put the formulas in front of you. This is the formula for cosine of 2x plus 3x. Cosine of the first one, cosine of the second one, minus sine of the first one, sine of the second one. And there is a minus sign here. I can collect this back again. What is the answer this time? It is cosine 7x minus 2x. Because if you have cosine of this difference, it becomes cosine of the first one, cosine of the second one, as you see here, plus sine of the first one, sine of the second one, as you see here. But the good point is that, what is cosine of 2x plus 3x? 2x plus 3x is just simply 5x. What is 7x minus 2x? That's also 5x. And then there's a minus sign between them. So cosine 5x minus cosine 5x is actually 0. Yes? So that might be, these questions might be hard or not, but of course these are A-level questions. But before this point, it shouldn't be hard for you, okay? Because these are standard problems. You shouldn't be creative to solve them. You need to just have the enough knowledge with you. Okay, any questions? Okay, so let us stop here. Thank you.